The record. The members of the House of Representatives implicated by the disguised spouses, as well as Congressman Martin Romualdez and Congressman Eric Yap, cited by Mr. Orly Gutesa, were invited to attend this hearing. Incumbent congressmen were invited through a letter dated 12 November 2025 to Speaker Faustino Boji D. III of the House of Representatives. Now, according to Speaker D, the members will not be appearing before the committee today in order to avoid any possible prejudice to the ongoing investigation and eventual findings of the ICI, Independent Commission for Infrastructure, given that the invited members have already submitted themselves to its jurisdiction and proceedings. Mr. Saldico was similarly invited to appear before this committee. However, his lawyer, Attorney Rui Alberto Rondain, replied that Mr. Co is unable to attend, citing that he is still overseas due to medical reasons. Let me state clearly that this committee takes strong exception to the statement made by Attorney Rondain. Specifically, his apprehension, and I quote, "I'm apprehensive that any statement he," referring to Mr. Saldico, "may give before the committee will, at best, preempt any defense he may set up." Our invitation was directed to Mr. Co himself, not to his lawyer. Suffice it to say that Article 1, speaking of jurisdiction, Section 2 of the Rules of the Blue Ribbon clearly states, and I quote, "The filing or pendency of any prosecution or criminal action shall not stop or abate any inquiry to carry out a legislative purpose." Several of the invitees were also sent their excuse letters. Number 1, Jonathan Quirante of Quirante Construction. Excuse, needs to attend to personal operations and project sites affected by Typhoon Tino and needs more time to organize documents. Number 2, Yumir Villanueva of Top Notch Catalyst Builders. Excuse, prior engagement. Number 3, Engineer RJ Dumasig. Excuse, scheduled appearance at the DOJ at 1 p.m. today. The following also sent excuse letters based on alleged medical reasons. Engineer Gerard Opulencia, Regional Director, DPWH NCR. District Engineer Manny Bulusan, District Engineer, South Manila District Engineering Office. Commissioner Mario Lipana. The committee also sought the assistance of the Bureau of Immigration to obtain available information on the following individuals: Mark Bakiran Bunagan, Alan Colesio, John Paul Estrada, Orly Regala Gutesa, and Mark Texay. In the response letter dated 30 November 2025, the Bureau informed the committee that there is no record of departure for Mr. Bunagan, Mr. Gutesa, and Mr. Texay. Meanwhile, Mr. Colesio is confirmed to be in the country, having returned from a brief trip abroad from October 18 to October 24, 2025. In the case of Mr. John Paul Estrada, the reported aide of Mr. Saldico, the BI reported that he left the country on September 2, 2025, bound for Hong Kong, and has not returned to the Philippines to date. We're now coordinating with the Philippine Center for Transnational Crime, PCTC, to coordinate with Interpol to track the movement or movements of Mr. John Paul Estrada, as well as other personalities who are now abroad, whose attendance will be needed by this committee. Lastly, this representation received a copy of an order dated October 24, 2025, penned by Carolina or Judge Carolina C. Ecasiano Sison, Executive Judge of the Manila Regional Trial Court, in relation to the investigation conducted by her office on the authenticity of the notarization of the Sinumpaang Salaysay executed by Mr. Orly Gutesa, allegedly notarized by Attorney Pechi Rose S. or G. Espera. For the record, the committee notes that the notarial monthly report submitted by Attorney Spera covers notarized documents recorded under Notarial Book Number 3, specifically Book Number 3, Document Number 41-173, pages 10 to 36, period September 11 to 30, 2025. It is further noted that these details differ from those appearing in the sinumpang salaysay of Musgari Cutesa, which, on the other hand, indicates the following particulars. Book number 255, page number 51, or document number, 255, page number 51, book number 8, series of 2005. Furthermore, the order issued by Executive Judge Icasiano Sison looked into consideration the report prepared by Mr. Antonio Magbohos, Executive Officer of the Forensic and Scientific Service, Question Document Division of the NBI. After conducting a comparative examination of the specimen signatures, the NBI concluded that the questioned signature and the standard specimen signatures of Attorney Spera were not written by one and the same person. Since it was found that Attorney Spera has not notarized the sinumpang salaysay, her notarial details, including her signature, contained in the said document is falsified. As such, the order declared that there was no sufficient basis to hold Attorney Spera administratively liable in connection with the notarization of the sinumpang salaysay. With that said, let us start. We will recognize again the members of the committee in the order of their arrival. And the first to arrive is, as usual, Senator Erwin Tulfo. Of course, the Senate President, we are joined by the Senate President to arrive second. Then followed by Senator Ontiveros, Senator Pangilinan, Senator Marcoleta, Senator Bam Aquino. So, Senator Tulfo, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just have a quick statement, Mr. Chair. Distinguished members of the committee. The Professor Wina Guerra of UP Center for Integrated and Development Studies in their policy paper, Flood Control Fiasco, the policy reckoning for accountability in the Philippines, revealed that our flood control failures stem not from lack of funds, but from absence of credible science, data, and accountability, and also, of course, of corruption. One of her recommendations is the revival of Project NOAA and its return to the Department of Science and Technology. Project NOAA once provided real-time hazards, rainfall, forecasts, flood simulation, guided both national agencies and the LGUs. It is for this reason that I urge this committee to recommend the said policy, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Before anything else, we also invited, again, former Undersecretary Roberto Bernardo. He has submitted his supplemental affidavit to the Department of Justice, and we want to hear, for the record, his sinumpang salaysay as submitted, or supplemental affidavit. This is supplemental to the September 25 affidavit that he submitted likewise to the Department of Justice, which he also testified before this committee. So, Undersecretary Bernardo, you're recognized.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and the honorable members of the Blue Ribbon Committee. Mr. Chair, may I be allowed to read an opening statement?
Go ahead. How many minutes?
3 minutes lang po.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. Salamat po. Dear Senator Lacson and honorable members of the Blue Ribbon Committee, again, I am Roberto R. Bernardo, formerly an Undersecretary for Operations of the Department of Public Works and Highways. Today, I am once more before the Honorable Blue Ribbon Committee upon its invitation and consistent with my assurance during my first appearance last September 25, 2025 to fully cooperate in its ongoing investigation. I am here not only out of respect for the invitation of the Honorable Committee, more importantly, I am compelled to come clean because of my fear of God Almighty and my ardent desire for my countrymen to give me a chance to atone for what I have done and failed to do, for which I offer no excuse or justification. Nung ako'y nabanggit sa mga irregularidad na ito, Ang una kong naisip ay manahimik tungkol sa nalalaman ko. Haharapin ko na lang ang mga asunto na isasampa sa akin. Ako ay aasa na lamang sa pamamagitan ng aking pananahimik ay makakakuha ako ng proteksyon mula sa makapangyarihan sa politika at maimpluwensyang mga personalidad na silang may pakana o kaya nagbigay daan sa mga irregularidad na ito. Gayunpaman, napagtanto ko na ang isang pagkakamali ay hindi maaaring iwasto ng isa pang pagkakamali. At kung may maisang pamangkaso ay maaaring magtagal ito bago matapos. Sa aking pagkakaalam sa mga nakarang scam, tulad ng ilang kaso ng PDAF, mahigit isang dekada na ang nakalipas, hanggang ngayon ay dinidinig pa. Kawawa ang bayan. Hindi ko matiyak kung ang mga pangunahing may sala sa mga irregularidad na ito ay mapapatawan ng kaukulang parusa sa lalong madaling panahon. Gayunpaman, umaasa ako na sa pamamagitan ng kasulukuyang mga pagdinig ay makakabuo ang ating mga mambabatas ng kaukulang batas na hindi lamang tutugon sa epekto ng mga maanumalyang gawain ito, kundi na rin makakapigil sa pag-ulit nito. The magnitude of the irregularities and how this have gravely affected and will affect our nation and its citizens cannot be overemphasized. I am committed to disclose everything that I know regarding these anomalies, particularly the complicated and ingenious ways by which these were carried out and perpetrated all these years. This, despite the serious threats to my personal safety and that of my family and loved ones. Mula sa aking paninilbihan bilang isang mababang laborer hanggang ako'y naging isang undersecretary, napag-alaman ko na ang profesional na kakayahan at integridad ay maaaring hindi sapat upang matiyak ang tagumpay sa profesional na karera ng isang tao. Nakapaloob sa isang tiwaling sistema kung saan ang isang tao ay pinangakuan ng biyaya o kaya'y pinipilit na lumahok sa mga irregularidad. Ang takot sa maaaring masamang mangyari bunga ng hindi pagsunod o pagnanais na rin sa personal na pakinabang o kaya'y kombinasyon ng dalawang ito ay sumisira sa moral na direksyon ng isang tao. Lalo na kung ang mga dapat na may pangunahing kakayanan na humadlang sa masamang gawain ay siya ring may pakana nito at nagbibigay daan dito. Naniniwala ako na hindi lamang ako ang nakaranas sa sitwasyong ito. Nakikiusap ako sa mga nasa ganitong kalalagayan na magtiwala sa kinauukulan at lumantad na at makipagtulungan sa kasalukuyang investigasyon. In connection with my application for coverage as a state witness under Republic Act No. 6981, I have earlier submitted to the Department of Justice a second supplemental affidavit further clarifying my previous disclosures on the government flood control and other infrastructure projects subject of the present proceedings. Once again, with the assurance of the Honorable Committee that my rights and benefits under RA 6981 shall be respected, I will be submitting the second supplemental affidavit to the Honorable Committee with the prior authority of the Department of Justice through the Honorable Frederick A. Vida, Acting DOJ Secretary, as set out in an authority to disclose, which I am likewise submitting to the Honorable Committee. Thank you po.
Proceed with your statement.
Second supplemental affidavit. I, Roberto R. Bernardo, Filipino, of legal age and a resident of Malolo City, Bulacan, under oath, hereby depose and state. I am submitting this second supplemental affidavit consistent with my desire to set forth my knowledge about the irregularities in government flood control and other infrastructure projects, as well as to obtain peace of mind and preserve the truth. Among other factors, the contents of this second supplemental affidavit had to be violated by me by making reference to an assortment of personal notes and records, deep thinking, as well as confirming with persons certain details regarding the time, place, manner, and circumstances under which the events narrated hereunder occurred. Moreover, owing to the passage of time and the fact that I am no longer part of the DPWH following my retirement in August 2025, the process of collecting facts and details had progressed slower than expected, contributing to the delay in the submission of this second supplemental affidavit. Also, I would like to make clear that while the facts narrated below are based on my direct personal knowledge and fortified by official DPWH records, the kickback scheme pertaining to the collection and handoff of the commitments to the relevant public officers occur practically without any paper trail. A statement of facts available to all, applicable to all. Over the decades that I worked for the DPWH, it has always been my philosophy to form good working relationships between and among my bosses and or superiors, inferiors and or subordinates, and other colleagues even without the promise or expectation of a reward or personal advantage. I would rather troubleshoot problems than develop enemies and immediately address all concerns. I would do this so that I can effectively perform my duties and responsibilities under the DPWH. Unfortunately, this professional orientation of mine has forced me to compromising situations that include the matters narrated hereunder. I reiterate my deep remorse and guilt for what I have done, and I am now animated by an honest desire to help rectify the institutional defects in the systems and operations, not only of DPWH, but also other government agencies, and help in developing lasting and meaningful reforms. I can confirm, based on my personal knowledge, that in some form or another, and on various extents, based on current setup, each and every DPWH official, employee from top and down the line is buffeted with various avenues of corrupt acts and practices. This would include high-ranking members of the department, such as secretary, undersecretaries, assistant secretaries, regional directors, district engineers, bids and awards committee members, engineers, inspectors, and all the way down to laborers. This is also true for several top officials of other departments and or agencies, such as but not limited to the Department of Finance, Department of Environment and Natural Resources, Department of Health, Department of Education, Department of Agriculture, Department of Agrarian Reform, Department of Transportation, Philippine Charity Sweepstakes, Philippine Coconut Authority, etc. Moreover, I can confirm, based on my personal knowledge, that in some form or another, and on various extents, most proponents have their own designated contractors who will take on the projects for the former's benefit and advantage. Sometimes, other proponents would request me to suggest contractors for them who are known to me or referred to me by friends and other personalities. There are situations that national and local elected politicians would request me to source projects for them. If given more time and opportunity to review the records and confirm supporting facts, I may be able to particularize the details of these transactions and dealings. Senator Ramon Bong Revilla Jr. I have a close and friendly relationship with Senator Ramon Bong Revilla, and we go all the way back since the time of Amay Bisaya and Mayor Viseo, who first introduced me to the former legislator while I was still the district engineer in Laguna sometime in 2005 or 2006. We frequently meet in important social gatherings. Senator Revilla later on became a godparent of two of my daughters, while I became a godparent to one of his children. When Senator Revilla was incarcerated, I visited him several times at the PNP Custodial Center at Camp Crame. Because of our close relationship, Senator Revilla had asked me for assistance on several matters which I can no longer exactly recall at the moment because this happened a long time ago, and I presently don't have records to help me reconstruct the events. Sometime in the third quarter of 2024, Senator Revilla and I met where he asked me for a list of projects for funding, ostensibly to help him in his national campaign. When Senator Revilla asked me about the percentage of the commitment, I suggested either 20 or 25, to which Senator Revilla said 25%. Soon thereafter, also in the third quarter of 2024, I asked then District Engineer Henry Alcantara to prepare a list of projects, which he subsequently gave to me. The said projects are enumerated in a list here to attach as Annex A. Moreover, still in the third quarter of 2024, I also asked then District Engineer, but later Regional Director for NCR, Engineer Gerard Opalencia, to prepare a list of projects, which he subsequently gave to me. The said projects are enumerated in a list here to attach as Annex B. I had the list of projects totaling 1.5 billion submitted by Engineer Henry and Engineer Gerard, consolidated in one sheet of paper, and gave the same to Senator Revilla in the third quarter of 2024. With respect to the projects under the NEP and HGAB, I followed this up with Secretary Manny Bonoan upon request of Senator Revilla, who would also follow this up with Yusek Cathy Cabral. The White House compound is the ancestral home of the Revillas with the large Blue Gate entrance at the time. Sometime in the last quarter of 2024, Engineer Alcantara collected the 25% commitment of about 125 million and informed me that the same was ready for turnover through Engineer Gerard Opalencia. Engineer Gerard Opalencia told me that the 25% commitment was already loaded in my vehicle. After receipt of the 25% commitment, which were packed in 6 cardboard boxes, each containing at least 20 million, and 1 paper bag containing 5 million. I called up Senator Revilla to inform him the same is ready to be turned over to him. Sometime December 2024, probably the Monday after my receipt of the commitment, my driver and I went to the residence of Senator Revilla. Upon reaching the area, I tried calling Senator Revilla, but he was not answering my call, so I waited. After waiting for approximately 1 hour at a nearby gasoline station, we were finally allowed inside the compound by the guard. Once inside, we parked the vehicle, and shortly upon alighting, I saw Senator Revilla at the terrace. I walked over to Senator Revilla for a casual talk. While the boxes were being unloaded, Senator Revilla and I talked for about 20 to 25 minutes. I asked him, Sen, bakit hindi ka nangangampanya? Senator Bong replied, okay naman pare, maganda results ng survey. Relax muna. The personnel of Senator Revilla helped in unloading the boxes. After the delivery of the commitment, I headed back to Manila. Sometime late January or February 2025, in relation to a list of projects submitted by Engineer Gerard Opulencia, Senator Revilla called me to follow up on the status of the commitment. About a week later, sometime February 2025, I informed Senator Revilla that the same was ready for turnover. Before the start of the campaign period for national elective positions, I directed one of my aides to deliver commitment amounting to 250 million to the residence of Senator Revilla at the White House compound, Aguinaldo Highway, Bacoor, Cavite. Senator Nancy Binay. Carlin Yap Villa is the aide of Senator Nancy Binay, who transacted with me regarding the latter's projects and commitment. If I recall correctly, I first met Carlin in the year 2018 during the budget season at the Senate. Eventually, sometime 2019, Yusek Traigib Olivar, whom I knew very well, endorsed Carlin to me. From then on, Carlin would contact me directly to follow up the status of different matters. Sometime fourth quarter in 2022, Carlin, claiming to act on behalf of Senator Binay, asked my help for the transfer of an assistant district engineer in Mindanao to another district, a request which I endorsed to Sec. Bunoan. Sometime during the third to fourth quarter of 2022, Carlin requested on behalf of Senator Binay for a list of projects worth around 1.882 billion with 12% commitment. The said projects are enumerated in a list here to attach as Annex C. I got 3% of 1.882 billion. I prepared a list of projects within my area of jurisdiction with the help of DPW's officials, but could not recall at this time exactly who among them gave me the list. But I can recall that it was Engineer Manny Bulusan who coordinated the collection of the commitment. Eventually, during the first quarter of 2023, the commitment was delivered to Carlin for Senator Binay in several tranches in Makati and Quezon City. But I could not recall at this time the details of the deliveries, but I undertake to submit additional information thereon. Sometime last quarter of 2023, Carlin again asked for Senator Binay a list of projects for inclusion and funding under the 2024 GAA, which I provided with the help of Engineer Gerard Opulencia and Engineer Henry Alcantara. The total list of projects initially amounted to 2.5 billion, but which was reduced to 1.672 billion. The said projects are enumerated in the list here to attach as Annex D. Apparently, some individual or group offered Senator Binay a higher amount of commitment of 15% instead of the previous 12%, with the promise that the commitment would be released much earlier. Yusek Traigib learned about the plan to transact with this individual or group, and I was informed by Yusek Traigib that he confronted Carlin and said to her, "Bakit nyo binabawasan ng kay Robert? Siya din naman ang nilalapitan ng mga yan pagka nagkakaproblema." However, sometime later part of December 2023, Carlin called me and requested for a 50 million advance for Senator Binay's shoes for the holiday season because the individual or group was unable to deliver on their promise, and which I then helped to fix. Thereafter, Carlin told me that Senator Binay was expecting an increase in the commitment from 12 to 15%, which I agreed to fulfill. I did not get any percentages from the aforementioned projects worth 1.672 billion, but I was reimbursed the 50 million which I earlier advanced. I was nurturing goodwill with Senator Binay by fulfilling the commitment. Sometime 2024, Carlin requested me to relate to Sec. Bunoan Senator Binay's request for some allocation under the NEP, which I did. Sec. Bunoan allocated 500 million for Senator Binay under the NEP for 2025, which I relayed to Carlin. Carlin told me to prepare a list of projects for the 500 million allocation. I then asked a list of projects from Engineer Henry and Engineer Gerard worth 500 million, which I then submitted in person with Sec Bunoan, who then told me he will instruct Yusek Cabral to include the same in the NEP. The list of projects was included in the NEP for 2025. The said projects are enumerated in a list here to attach as Annex E. Likewise, sometime in the last quarter of 2024, Carlene for Senator Binay asked for a list of projects to be included in the 2025 GAA. I then directed Engineer Henry and Engineer Gerard of Polesia to prepare a consolidated list of projects. I submitted a list of projects totaling 3 billion to Carlene, but only approximately 2.6 billion was included. The said projects are enumerated in a list here to attach as Annex F. After these projects appeared in the GAA, Engineer Bulusan, Engineer Upolesia, and myself collected, raised, and prepared the 15% commitment, which was all turned over to me. There were difficulties in collecting the commitment as there were contractors, congressmen who did not give amount considering the issue of